event organized by the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asian Pacific and Energy Foundation China, because we have the partnership and to support the regional cooperation on sustainable energy. So specifically for today, we're very glad there are two output from this partnership. We will launch the SDG 7 roadmap for Pakistan, which was supported by this partnership with the member countries. We will also launch the National Cooling Action Plan from Cambodia. That's also the output jointly supported by this partnership. I think a partnership is very important to work together, all the stakeholders to achieve 2030 agenda and SDGs. So we are very glad that today we have VIPs from these two countries. And also we have our executive secretary to open this session. And I'm very glad we have colleagues from UN Energy to join us. Now, without further ado, I would like to just start with the opening welcome message from Executive Secretary, Ms. Amida Salicia Alice Jabana, Under Secretary of the United Nations and the Executive Secretary of ESCAP.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to deliver welcoming remarks on partnership to promote sustainable energy at this joint event with Energy Foundation of China. Partnerships are fundamental to the success of efforts to promote sustainable energy and to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Paris Agreement. We are currently faced with the sobering reality of slow progress towards Sustainable Development Goal 7 or SDG 7, ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. At the same time, the just released UNEP Emission Gap Report 2022 highlights there are no credible pathways to limit warming to 1.5 degrees. Thus, our climate mitigation efforts are falling well short of what is needed to avoid the catastrophic consequences of a warming planet. I'm therefore delighted that today's event will highlight some of the positive outcomes of partnership that ESCAP is engaged in. Today's launch of the SDG 7 roadmap for Pakistan is the culmination of collaborative efforts between the government of Pakistan, ESCAP, Energy Foundation China, the Sustainable Development Policy Institute, and Murdoch University. These partners came together to support the analysis of Pakistan's energy sector, and the result is a guiding framework to increase energy access, efficiency, and renewables, while also lowering the nation's greenhouse gas emission. ESCAP collaborative model for developing SDG 7 roadmap has proven to be a success and has been applied to numerous countries in the Asia-Pacific region, resulting in 9 national and 6 city and provincial level roadmaps. Our world is getting hotter. For developing nations in warmer climates, cooling represents a growing source of energy demand and greenhouse gas emission from refrigerants. In recognition of this trend, the Secretary General has called upon countries to develop and adopt national cooling action plan in order to deliver efficient and climate-friendly cooling. Under the Global Cool Coalition umbrella, ESCAP and UNEP, with the funding support of Energy Foundation China, responded to this need and engaged coalition partners to create a framework methodology for developing national cooling action plans. We are pleased to say that we have collaborated with the government of Cambodia to pilot this methodology and draft a national cooling action plan. This is the first to be adopted in Southeast Asia and hopefully the first of many. Now that SDG 7 and national cooling action plans have been established, we must look to form new partnerships to support their implementation and the realization of shared goals. Today's panel discussion, Putting Plans into Action Through Partnership, will focus on identifying the elements of successful collaborations and how development partners can improve their support to countries. I would like to commend Energy Foundation China and other ESCAP partners present here today at COP27 for their commitment to advancing the objectives of the 2030 Agenda, the Kigali Amendment, and the Paris Agreement, and congratulate them for the successes we have already realized. I hope this event will allow stakeholders to come together in new and renewed partnership with the objective of achieving our common sustainable energy and climate goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite Mr. Sajjana Miraz, who is a Managing Director, Private Power and Investment Board from the government of Pakistan. So he's a great supporter and a leader for this development of SDG 7 roadmap in Pakistan. Mr. Miraz, the floor is yours.
जी, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulate the UN ESCAP, STPI, and my own organization, PPIB, for working and coordinating on this report for a long time and coming up with this report which provides SDG 7 roadmap for Pakistan. As we all know, the climate change is becoming a bigger and bigger issue day by day. What disaster we have seen in Pakistan this year in terms of flood, where one third of the country is underwater, and we have not been able to so far even release the water from some of the areas. So these calamities actually show that how important the climate change is and what we should do actually to achieve that. In terms of SDG 7 roadmap, what Pakistan announced in the national determined contribution, which was released this year. So we are targeting to reduce the greenhouse gases emission by 50%, and we are working in the main contributor, which is the power sector. So we are working in the country to bring in the renewable energy at 60 up to 62% by 2030. So this is the target on which government of Pakistan is working. Currently, we only have renewable share of 30%. So it is more than double what we are targeting. And in this definition, we include the hydropower projects also. So this is the target, and by doing this, it is expected that the uh, current CO2 emission per kilowatt hour of energy produced, which is about 356 gram per kilowatt hour, it will reduce to 196 gram per kilowatt hour. So that is almost half of what we are doing. The target is to add another 13,600 megawatt from the renewable energy resources like wind and solar, and 13,000 megawatt from the hydropower resources, which is again clean energy. Pakistan is blessed with a lot of hydropower resource, uh, wind energy resource, and of course, the sunlight is very long day hours in Pakistan. So this is the target we are working at, and in this working, this report and this work with the UNSCAP and Next Step software, this will provide a scientific basis to implement this roadmap and design it for the Pakistan. The main area which this report has identified, I'm sure Dr. Hina will give more detailed on the report. So the area which is recommended, that is the improvement on the in the cooking side, improve, then energy efficiency, then the renewable energy, more and more renewable energy need to be added into the grid, and finally the fourth area is the energy conservation. So I think with this report, Pakistan will be able to achieve the targets which are committed under the Paris Agreement, under the NDCs. That's the main aim. This is where we are working. Recently, the Pakistan has prepared a generation expansion plan for next 10 years. And in terms of looking at the NDCs, although NDCs commit that will not put up any new imported coal-based power plant during this period of 8-9 years. But the generation expansion plan does not include any coal power plant in the next 8-9 years till 2031. So that is the positive side we are working, and the calamities we are seeing and the effects of climate change we are looking now. I think everybody and every country is realizing that this targets and of climate change mitigation cannot be achieved alone. So this is the work between the different countries, different organizations like UN ESCAP and the other countries who actually helping that. We need to explore more and more green financing, and we need to actually make it available. I think that's the solution to the problem. Pakistan has committed 15% reduction of GHC by 2030 with the local support and local financing, but another 35% need to be raised from the international resources. So we need to support and we need to work on that. In the end, I again congratulate the UN Escape, STPI, my own organization, PPIB, and other stakeholders who have worked to make this report a reality. I'm sure detail will be presented by Dr. Hina. So I stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miraza. This is very encouraging to see the roadmap for Pakistan provided a very ambitious target. So as you said, the implementation even more important than the roadmap itself. It's really, that is also the basis, we will move forward to continue this collaboration and the partnership. Thank you very much. So next, I would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Chan Chong Chanto, who is the Deputy Director General, General Directorate of Policy and Strategy, Minister of Environment, Cambodia. The floor is yours.
Good. Good afternoon, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor and pleasure to be with you today for this event. On behalf of the Royal Government of Cambodia, Ministry of Environment, and myself, please allow me to extend our sincere appreciation to the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for the Asia and Pacific, Energy Foundation China, and the coalition for the organizing the important event. The UN Secretary General called countries to develop national cooling action plan to deliver efficiency and sustainable cooling and bring essential life preserving service like vaccine and safe food to all people. In response, Cambodia embarked this journey in difficult time as we were in the middle of the global pandemic, but also an important time for making decisions take and the cooling challenge and between one of the early move in the region. Cambodia has therefore has developed a national cooling action plan in a collaboration between the Department of Climate Change, of the General Directorate of Policy and Strategy, the National Council for Sustainable Development, and the General Directorate of Environmental Protection of the Ministry of Environment in partnership with the United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, and the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific, UN ESCAP. In the context of coalition with technical support provided by the Alliance of the Energy Efficiency, Economic and Sustainable Energy for All. Financial support were provided by the Danish International Development Agency, DANIDA, and Energy Foundation China. Today, it is with great pleasure to launch the National Cooling Action Plan of the Royal Government of Cambodia. The action plan is designed to realize Cambodia's long-term development vision in building a sustainable, green, clean, and low-carbon society based on climate-friendly and energy efficiency technology in cooling sector. It is the first national strategy plan to establish an overarching national framework for intersectoral collaboration and multi-stakeholder preparation for sustainable, climate-friendly, and energy efficiency development for cooling sector that contribute to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, the Paris Climate Agreement, and the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol. Cooling in Cambodia is not only about the thermal comfort, but it is also about protecting vulnerable population, keeping food fresh, medicine viable, and workforce productive. A few months ago, temperature reached 41 degrees Celsius in Cambodia. The Ministry of Health had to warn the country that the extent heat wave could affect the health and life of the elderly, children, and those with heart and lung disease and other infections. While part of natural resource struggling to install adequate cooling system, air conditioning usage has soared in our city as people are making a rush to buy air conditioner. 45% of electricity generation is consumed by cooling service such as air conditioning, refrigeration, industry cooling, and cold storage. This is putting stress on our electricity grid and also contributing significantly to further global warming. To tackle this situation, we need a transition to sustainable cooling for all that we aim to rely guiding by the National Cooling Action Plan and with support of the national community. The development of the action plan went through numbers of consultation and decision with relevant ministry and partner and include invaluable contribution from both national and international consultants. I would therefore like to take the opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to the development team and the contributor. We reaffirm that we stand ready with the world community for effective implementation of the Kigali Amendment to address the world impact of climate change for cooling sector and simultaneously to respond to COVID-19 pandemic. We look forward to continue collaboration with the Cool Coalition, its member and all participants present here today to realize our vision of sustainable development while saving our planet from the climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chanto. Cambodia's National Cooling Action Plan is the first such plan in Southeast Asia. I really think this is a good example to show the technology and the methodology to develop this, and also for the implementation. Thank you very much. So next I would like to invite the representative from the Energy Foundation China, because the president and CEO of Energy Foundation China, Professor Zhou, has urgency to deal with, cannot join us at the moment. So his representative, Mr. Han Wei, is the director of the project and the presidency's office. The floor is yours, Han Wei.
Thanks, Director Hong Peng. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's really nice to meet all of you. As Director Liu mentioned, our CEO and President of Energy Foundation China, planned to come to the side event, and but due to the emergency and emerging commitment and the last minute, finally I cannot come to the side event, and just authorized me to give an opening remark on behalf of himself. Actually, he also wanted me to deliver the big congratulations to Pakistan and Cambodia for these two national plans. Please allow me to give this opening remark to all of you. As Director Liu mentioned at the beginning, Angie Foundation China and work for the past years work with ESCAP for the lump sum of the collaboration in the Asia and the Pacific areas. Angie Foundation China is actually we are a philanthropy organization, and we mainly based in China. Actually, our mission is to support the energy transition, support the green economy growth by supporting the sustainable energy development and energy efficiency, and also to achieve the high quality of the air quality issues, and energy really to facilitate the energy transition. Actually, we work quite on the standards development, policy research development, capacity building, and best practice sharing and international collaboration in many areas, including like the industry, transportation, environmental management, power sector, and the city level, national, provincial level in China. But we do also have a lot of international levels activities, such as today's event, and it's a great privilege to co-organize this event together with ESCAP. We also have work on a lot of cross-cutting issues, like the long-term strategy development of the decarbonization and the electrification issues, and also the coal transition, the urbanization, and also the international collaboration. And we also do hope to continue to work with you on all these sectors, and also the cross sectors issues. And as I just mentioned, starting from 2019, Annie Foundation China and the ESCAP, we start to work together and set up a framework to work together on a common goal of ensuring the low carbon and sustainable development, with a view to achieve the SDGs and the Paris Agreement targets in the Asia and the Pacific regions. So today we will launch two action plans for the Pakistan SDG 7 roadmap, as the government of Pakistan, the representative from the government of Pakistan mentioned that, they set up the very ambitious targets. We do know that Pakistan is one of the most challenging nations in the Asia Pacific in terms of the sustainable energy. So we do believe this plan will mean a lot, set a significant milestone in putting the national to accelerate the path, the energy transition toward more green and low carbon. And also, we know today we will launch the Cambodia cooling action plan. That's also a huge congratulations to the government of Cambodia. We know that actually we work a lot on the cooling sector. China also have developed the national cooling action plan. We do share the experience with our ESCAP team, and we are working together for common methodology for developing the cooling action plan, and also try to test all these methodology in different countries. So Cambodia is it's a great place that we start for these developing countries. Finally, it's really great privilege to launch these master plans for Pakistan and Cambodia. And we do look forward to continue to work with ESCAP for more countries to develop more action plans for SDG 7, and more countries to join the coalition and to develop their own cooling action plan. We're also looking forward to work with all of you, work with Pakistan and Cambodia for the implementation as next step for these two action plans. I will stop here. Really looking for the future collaboration. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Han Wei, for this remarks. Yeah, that's really appreciated for this support for the partnership. This is exactly the result we can see from the partnership. So next, I would like to invite Dr. Vaka Ahmed, who is Joint Executive Director from Sustainable Development Policy Institute, Pakistan. Because SDPI is the main driver also together with the PPIB to develop this SDG 7 roadmap in Pakistan. So this is a video message from Dr. Becca for this meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure to be virtually present here at the Partnerships to Promote a Sustainable Energy side event. We are grateful to STPI partners, UN ESCAP and Energy Foundation China for their continued collaboration on this important subject. The crux of our today's discussion or problem statement here is to see how actionable plans can be expedited through partnerships. In our experience at STPI and working with governments in Pakistan and beyond, we have found three key elements essential to success of partnerships, which ultimately deliver some progress towards SDG 7. First element is agility in planning, which is an essential component. Guidance towards a shared future should be clear for all stakeholders, not just through plans, but also through budgets. National and provincial budgets should have the coherence to move in the same direction so that transition towards sustainable energy goals is timely and in a cost-efficient manner. Second, STPI's research has found that federal governments have to lead by example. It is only then that provinces, local and field formations get a clear cue and form subnational plans towards energy transition. Ultimately, federal governments have to be answerable to global commitments, so it makes natural sense to follow this path, but also take provincial governments along. As sustainable energy is a shared cause, hence we've always found that even provinces managed by opposition parties wish to expedite in directions which could ensure energy supplies at affordable rates and lesser hazardous emissions. Third element which has worked in cooperation agreements which lead to shared learning actually directs towards a case for promoting research by Global South. Most of the cooperation agreements which we see today are a result of efforts in the Global North. It informed little by research and collective wisdom in the South. One must realize that any global commitments would not be achieved unless that promise and resolve trickles down to the communities in the South, which, by the way, happen to be the worst affected by the effects of dirty and non-renewable sources of energy production. With these three broad lessons on global partnerships, let me briefly turn to Pakistan, where we today see encouraging progress in some targets of SDG 7, including 7.1, which is the proportion of population with access to electricity, as well as 1.2, which is on proportion of population with access to clean cooking fuel. Despite of this progress on select indicators, available data also shows that this progress in Pakistan is not entirely equitable. There are provinces and parts within these provinces that lag behind. Balochistan is one case in point where access remains low. Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa provinces also lag behind when it comes to cleanliness of available fuels. Which brings me to a key conclusion. Pakistan, being the 5th largest population in the world, will require sustained investment to achieve clear energy transition. However, at the same time, capacities to spend and manage various forms of financing are also important. Under the updated NDCs, Pakistan has mentioned the target of 15% emissions reduction by 2030, using country's own resources, and 50% by 2030, based on availability of international finance. Under these revised NDCs, Pakistan has also identified the market and non-market based approaches to help diversify the funding sources, including the nature performance bonds, blue and green bonds, carbon pricing instruments, etc. And it is heartening to see that successive governments in the past decade or so, have taken policy initiatives to support green investments. This is reflected in various recent policies between 2019 and 2022, including the indicative generation capacity expansion plan, Pakistan's alternative and renewable energy policy, competitive trading bilateral contracts market framework, national electricity policy, Pakistan EV policy, and NECA's draft national energy efficiency and conservation policy. Given the clear focus of these policies, it is now important that national and subnational governments in Pakistan commit to the goals and targets under these policies. And a strong monitoring and evaluation regime should keep the progress on track. Such a robust monitoring is important as it is easy to get off track in a country facing recurrent crises, including the recent floods, and before that, the unanticipated effects of pandemic. Let me conclude here by saying that the launch of Pakistan's SDG roadmap certainly comes at a very timely moment, but will certainly require effective partnerships, shared learning, timely investments, and strong monitoring to ensure that these investments are directed towards the best possible outcomes under SDG 7. The roadmap contains a matrix of technology options and enabling policy measures for the government of Pakistan to consider. It presents scenarios which are expected to enable the government to make an informed decision to develop and implement a future which is in line with NDCs. I once again thank the organizers for having me on board and allowing me the opportunity to express my views on this subject.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bhagat. So now we will just launch this SDG 7 roadmap for Pakistan. Can I just invite Mr. Miraz and Mr. Hanwei and to come to the stage, and we will see the this is a launch for the SDG 7 roadmap. We will have the details. If you can, you want to get the details, you can just scan the QR code to download it. So thank you very much. So now I think I would like to invite Dr. Hina Aslam, who is a research fellow from Energy Lead Sustainable Development Policy Institute, give us the information about the highlight for SDG 7 roadmap in Pakistan. So, Dr. Hina. Let me just. Right. Yeah. Go ahead. You just this.
Okay. So there. No, I think,
Yeah, this one is already here, right?
yeah.
Oh.
This.
You just go through, it's already there.
Okay,
No, no
okay,
worries.
okay.
You just go down. Yeah, you see it.
Good afternoon. Very, very glad to be here, and thank you to ESCAP. Thank you to the organizers, China Energy Foundation, and thanks to Managing Director Shah Jahan Mirza from PPIB, Ministry of Energy, Pakistan. We are very glad to be launching this SDG 7 roadmap for Pakistan, which is very timely and is presenting a clear roadmap for how can we achieve SDG 7 for Pakistan by 2030. I am here to present some of the key findings and recommendations from the roadmap. Beyond this roadmap, there's a very extensive modeling exercise, but we will focus on the particular policy recommendations and the key findings of the report that would be beneficial for Pakistan to take it forward.
What happened?
This one?
This one? Okay.
Okay. Right. So this initiative has emerged from the recommendation of the second Asian Pacific Energy Forum that was held in 2021, where the energy minister across the region of Asia Pacific advised ESCAP to support the countries to develop the SDG 7 roadmap. So the process went through a long journey. So it started back with an inception workshop in May 2022. And then we had a data collection process, as you may understand. To undertake this kind of modeling exercise, it needs extensive and a lot of data to be analyzed. And the data was supported by STPI. And I would like to thank you here, my team members, Ubaidur Rahman and Nisma Rizwan, to assist in this data collection for this process. And also I would like to acknowledge the preparation and the writing of this SDG 7 roadmap to Mr. Anis Zaman from Murdoch University and Muhammad Salahuddin. Okay, moving on. So we developed this roadmap, and it also went through the reviewing and the editing process with a lot of consultation that was held, the last consultation, which was on 22nd of October 2021. And then finally, we are here together to launch this roadmap here at COP27 and giving you a feedback on how do we see the pathway towards achieving the SDG 7 targets of Pakistan in alignment with the NDC commitments of the climate change. So for the key findings and recommendations, Pakistan's access to electricity was 93.6 in 2021. And it is predicted that the universal access to electricity might be achieved in 2027. In terms of clean cooking, Pakistan will achieve 59.2% access by 2030. And this roadmap suggests to use a combination of improved cooking stoves and electric cooking stoves for the rural and the urban areas, respectively, to achieve the universal access by 2030. And the choice of this is for rural areas is due to affordability issues of the electric stoves for the rural people, and it would be a transitional technology until more affordable options are available. In terms of renewable energy, we see that in the sustainable development scenario, it is reflecting that this share will be based on the is based on the IGCEP 2022 to 2031, and it will have almost 23.5% in increase by 2030. And the increase of the hydropower and the renewable share in the power sector is predominantly seen in the graphs, and with the improvement in the energy efficiency, and that will be around 33.1% in 2021 to 60% in 2030. So that's simultaneously with the improvement of energy efficiency and phasing out the unclean cooking and heating technologies which are presented and which are implemented in the Sustainable Development Goal scenario. These measures have led to a greater share that we foresee in terms of renewables and in terms of the renewable, increasing the share in the energy mix of Pakistan by 2030. Now, when we talk to decline at it is declining at a rate of 0.55% between 1990 and 2010. And a doubling of the 1990 to 2010 improvement rate is required in order to achieve the SDG 7.3 target. That requires an average annual rate increase of 1.11% between 2010 and 2030. And this corresponds to 2030 energy intensity of 4.08 megajoules per US dollars. In the current policy scenario, the energy intensity is projected that the intensity would be around 4.47 in 2030. But in the SDG scenario, the energy intensity is further reduced to 3.97, which exceeds the energy efficiency target. So achievement of this target requires phasing out on the inefficient cooking and heating technologies, increasing the MEPS adoption, encouragement of mass transport, and improvement of passenger car fuel economy, and also to accelerate the zigzag technology in the brick kiln implementation industry to realize that the additional energy demand reduction is required by 18.3 megatons in 2030, which is as compared to the CP, which is the climate scenarios. So the NDC unconditional target for the energy sector is estimated to be 8.4% by 2030. That is compared to the business as usual. And under the CPS scenario, the emissions are expected to be reduced by 15.6% and 21.3% respectively. So under that, we see that the huge consideration is required where we talk about decarbonizing the power sector would be beneficial for the country as it has to significantly reduce its emissions to 50% as per the NDCs. And moreover, the transitioning to fully renewable energy based power system would be more cost effective in the longer run rather than relying on the fossil fuel based power generation. So if you look at the marginal abatement cost curve, it presents the different energy efficiency and renewable energy measures along with their mitigation and mitigation costs. So as it is noted that from the curve that the transport, residential, and the industrial has a higher greenhouse gas emission mitigation potential, which are very cost effective in the longer term. And for instance, the encouragement of public transport and the improvement of fuel economy would be able to provide the highest savings with high abatement potential. In terms of renewable energy, solar PVs has lower abatement cost compared to the wind and the hydropower. And the abatement cost for the solar PV, hydropower, and wind are 19 tons US dollars, 20 and 38 respectively, and a carbon price of around 60 per ton, 60 US dollars per ton of carbon dioxide equivalent that may make the proposed measures more attractive, especially in terms of EV bid in the context of EV bid buses. In terms of the whole decarbonization of the whole economy by 2050, we see that the energy system is Pakistan is well positioned for an accelerated decarbonization effort as is required for the net zero technologies in decarbonizing the energy system. So this model, the next step model, suggests that the utilization of 100% electric cooking stove and electric heater by 2050 is there to achieve net zero in the residential sector. And the adoption of 100% of e-mobility is very critical to decarbonize the transport sector. In the industrial sector, the fuel switching has a significant role, particularly the switching of fossil fuel to biomass and electricity. So fuel switching can also be implemented in the agriculture sector. As the emissions will nearly reach zero in 2050, a very small amount of residual emission is due to certain limitations in fully decarbonizing the industry. Therefore, the carbon sinks such as reforestation or forest management and other carbon storage and capture technologies should be considered to absorb the remaining carbon in the emissions. So these are some of the key findings and the highlights of the roadmap. Of course, it comes with a lot of work, the background work, the technical modeling work that has been done, and the whole detailed information is presented in the roadmap. The hard copies are, some of them are available here, but most of them we would encourage to download, scan the QR code, and you may download the report. And we are highly thankful to United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific, ESCAP, in collaboration with Murdoch University, Australia, Private Power Infrastructure Board, Pakistan, Ministry of Energy Power Division, and Energy Foundation, China, for this work being successfully coming to a final launch and dissemination and following an implementation plan. Thank you so much for your time and listening to us.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Hina, for this introduction. I really think it's very useful to give the overview and the highlight. So let's just move to our next agenda. It will be the launch of the National Cooling Action Plan for Cambodia. I would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Chiang and to come to the stage and then to show this National Cooling Action Plan, and also Ms. Han Wei and also Mr. Jonathan Jowen, if you can form a co-collation. Because this National Cooling Action Plan actually is a joint work from UNEP, ESCAP, Energy Foundation, and also Cool Coalition. So I really think this is a partnership. We all work together. Thank you very much. Okay, now it's a time for our panel discussion. I just would like to invite our moderator, Ms. Han Wei, Director of Project from President Office, Energy Foundation China, to moderate this session. I also would like to invite all the panelists. And I think, sorry, Mr. Chiang I didn't include you there, but I'm very happy you are available. You have the time to join the panel discussion. Please come to the stage to take your seat. Dr. Hina and Mr. Minoru Takada, who is a team leader on Energy Division for Sustainable Development Goals from UNDESA. And so Ms. Han Wei, the floor is yours. 我站，你坐哪儿？你可以坐哪儿？你们有座的，有座的，对，对你坐吧。
Thanks, directly. It's really great privilege that we can be here and also to facilitate this panel discussion about the putting plans into action through the partnerships. So I got the 4 panelists today, 2 for Pakistan's SDG 7 plan and 2 for Cambodia's cooling national plan. It's really great. So maybe I can just start with Dr. Hina Asmat, since you just gave a presentation about the key highlights of Pakistan SDG 7 roadmap. The question is, we really want to ask, what are the key elements of successful partnerships for the development of SDG roadmaps to achieve the 2030 carbon neutral the agenda for sustainable development. We would like to give your insight about this.
Thank you so much for having me. So just like I think we already discussed a lot in the presentation, that when we talk about partnership to encourage sustainable energy and sustainable use of energy resources in Asia Pacific, and especially in the context of Pakistan, the 3 main areas to work upon and to build partnership is renewable energy, energy efficiency, and clean cooking solutions. These are the 3 main areas that are critical to lead a pathway for Pakistan to achieve the SDG 7 goals. As you could see from the numbers and from the scenarios that we had already developed in the report, it is very evident that the policies, the measures are taken are right on the path. And by 2030 and 2050, it is envisioned that we will be able to achieve the targets. But as per the NDCs, we have 35% dependence on the condition on the international finance available. So financing remains a very critical element to be able to achieve the targets of renewables, and of course to encourage the other elements that we are focusing on. In terms of energy efficiency, in terms of building partnership for the other countries, it's also very important to build capacity, share the knowledge from the other countries on a regional level. So I think the platforms like Asia Pacific Energy Think Tank Network, the AppNet, that is being hosted by ESCAP already, and also some other platforms of the region where the dialogues, where the capacity building, the knowledge sharing, the best practices could be shared in terms of the technology transfer from one country to another could play a major role while we're talking about achieving the target. So there's a support required in our end, and of course to bridge and to fill in the gap that we are seeing. We have a huge political commitment nowadays, which is evident through our policies, witnessed through our measures, the projects being undertaken by the Ministry of Energy and the other relevant stakeholders. So what we really need is to get it towards the right direction in alignment with our national determined contributions and to achieve the goal 7 and along with the other interlinked goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hina. I think thanks for sharing your insights on the successful development of the SDG 7 roadmap for Pakistan. I do have to echo your comments about the importance of the engagement of policy makers, and also the importance for financing, capacity building, and knowledge sharing, even not only for the domestic, but also it'd be great to have more sharing exchange from other countries. Yeah, I do think all these are very important to mitigate the gap for the development and both for the development and the implementation of this SDG 7 roadmap. Yeah, thanks for sharing this, and I will move to next our panelist, Mr. Minoru Takata. actually who is team leader on division for sustainable development goals and from UNDESA. So I would like to ask your opinion about what the key elements are needed for actionable sustainable annual plan for a roadmap, and how can development partners to improve their support for the planning process? Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations on the very successful launch of the two plans, Pakistan and Cambodia. It's a very exciting step, and of course, congratulations to Hong Pen and ESCAP team, the Energy Foundation China, who is supporting this work, and then our colleague here from the UNEP colleagues who has been working on this issue for a long time as well. It's a great collaborative effort on that. Any plan will have to be led by vision and targets and goals. So it's very clear. If we don't have any goals to be achieved, fully articulated, plan is just paper without destination. So this is number one. And if you have a goal, then a goal, of course, needs to be accompanied by something that you can measure. So you measurable indicators, because otherwise you cannot be accountable to what you are supposed to be doing. So that's two minimum things that we need. I think the good thing about this SDG roadmap is that it is giving a lot of data points. So you can actually draw some milestones from the roadmap. And that is going to be extremely helpful for the national government to think about what are the sort of, the plans and the planning pathways to get to where they want to get to. Absolutely needed, obviously, finance, but this is a very challenging element. But I think planning will now need to be more and more dealt with in conjunction with budgetary processes and the financing mobilization strategies. Otherwise, implementation will lag behind. I think this is a very common phenomenon, but I think more and more, in the case of energy in particular, we have, I think, actually a lot of options. I mean, maybe energy sector is in a sort of the better sector compared with others in that there are a lot of interested parties who want to push energy transitions. So question is that can we actually identify the right partners, right way to engage financing sources? And this is, I think, something that, in addition to supporting planning development, the international community too will have to think about more carefully as to how to support the planning and implementation process in a way that is coming without a major gap. Monitoring framework obviously is very important. I would think that you have successfully laid out many of those things within the plan. There are, of course, many plans, and we need to say, we are saying that implementation, but without plans, we can't do implementation, to be honest. So I personally welcome very strong planning exercises and strong vision and national targets to come. So let me stop here as a first run, and before I come back to some other questions.
Thanks, Mr. Minora. Yeah, thanks for sharing all these the very open in mind the opinions and comments. Yeah, we do look forward actually also working with you, UNDESA, that to really find the right partners to support all these national implementation of all this action plan. Okay, thank you for your sharing. And I would like to move to our next panelist from Cambodia, Jay Chen Cho, who is the Deputy Director General of General Directorate of Policy and Strategy, Ministry of Environment, Cambodia. I would like to really interested to know some opinions from you about the key highlights of the targets in the cooling national action plan in Pakistan, as well as your insights on the implementation as next step. Thanks.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank to all the supporters for this joint development Cambodia Action Plan for cooling system, including UNEP, and ESCAP, China Foundation, and all what I Danida support their money in every especially the expert consultant that help us to develop this very important document. This document is for us to guide Cambodia to contribute to GHG emission in the to especially support to the sustainable development goal. For the action plan, mostly we are what I really aware that they are focused on the 4 or 5 sector, which in this one related to this we can say the mine sector that are indicate in this in the action plan is focusing on the building, space cooling and food, uh, mobile air conditioning and healthcare, and including the cooling process all in the country. As you know, mostly the country like Cambodia are looking in a tropical area. It's very hot. Like here, you can say in Egypt also, they are using a lot of the air conditioner. Usually, we can use this one almost in the food chain or in the medicine storage as well as everything. Yeah, because we need cold. Mostly the cooling they using a lot of power. They generate a lot of GHG emission that makes the climate change almost. And for this one, according to this, you can say the action plan, mostly we will engage all the involving ministry to implement this one, especially for the private sector, academia, as well as the private sector, mostly to achieve all the action plan or the to reach all the, you can say the energy GHG emission reduction. We need all from private sector. They can the marketing, the private sector, they can contribute a lot of because the government has we can say the limited of the resource to implement all everything. We can say that like here we come here to the COP. We call for the financial support from the all development partners, especially developed country, to help all the least developed country like Cambodia or developing country to provide all capital or resources up to 100 billion per year. That they are stated in the we can say in the Copenhagen Accord, the preview, especially in the Paris Agreement. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for DDG J Chen Yo's comments. Yeah, I think it's really it's very important for I believe the National Cooling Action Plan for Cambodia is very important for the country since as you mentioned that there's a 45% of the each is used for the cooling purpose, and we do believe there's a huge and increase further increasing of this cooling demand. We do believe also other countries also suffering from all this heat wave, and there will be more need and demand from the cooling sector. Yeah, we also actually just as mentioned that we do look forward to continue to work with you for the implementation in the future by working with the governments, the private sector, as you mentioned. Yeah, that's very important to engage them. Yeah, great. Thanks. And we'll come to the last panelist, Mr. Jonathan Du from the Coalition. Actually, we know that Coalition for the past years work a lot with ESCAP to develop the methodology for cooling action plan and to support more countries to develop the cooling action plan. For their market, for their countries, and also try to link to the NDC their target by implementing a sustainable cooling. So my question is that what's your opinion about how the National Cooling Action Plan contribute to achieve the net zero emissions? I would like to hear your thoughts about that. Thanks.
Thank you. I think it's the first step in a sense to actually develop a clear vision. And I think Minoru already mentioned it. It's important to have a clear planning forward to know where you're going and what your targets and your achievements are going to be, and set clear, set clear targets overall for the sector. And in this first step, it's first of all making sure that everybody understands the situation and has a clear idea of, what is possible also what are the actions that are possible to actually change the situation that needs to be changed. So overall, it's about understanding clearly what exactly the consumption is. And you mentioned, the 5% of energy today, but we know also that over time, this consumption is going to grow. And so what we want is actually that it's not growing, ideally, or at least not with intensive carbon emissions. So it's all about working already in partnership, because I think the planning part is the first step in bringing all the partners together around the table to discuss the specific topic. And based on that, actually, then you can bring everybody behind that vision. The next step, of course, will be towards the implementation, which is, of course, as mentioned by our colleague from Pakistan, will require, investment and financing to come in. But already it's very important to have clarity on what can be done. And on the one end, I think what is very important is to think what are the passive solutions that can be put forward, and then start looking also at what are some of the low carbon technologies that can be used on top of that. But first, always start by, looking at how you can not use energy, if possible, to ensure the maximum of cooling already. So reducing the cooling demand by the passive solutions. And together with ESCAP, actually, we are starting a project in Cambodia to look at passive cooling in housing. So that's one step towards implementation. It's a small step, but it will already help, like taking some actions that are related to the National Cooling Action Plan forward. The idea of the Cool Coalition actually is to bring together all the partners and all the stakeholders that are working on cooling together to help at the international level, providing some of the solutions and sharing the best practices, the experiences, the policies, ensuring that exchange between the countries to see what are the options that certain countries have implemented can be implemented in other countries. So I think the Cool Coalition has a very important role to play there also, in continuing supporting the implementation by providing actually these best practice examples and the best practice policies, and creating that exchange and peer exchange between the countries.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I do echo all the comments that the steps for establish a national cooling action plan. I do agree. We need to know details about the situation and to engage all the key stakeholders at the very beginning and to impact them and to get the consensus about our target and common goal, right? And it's also important to really engage them for the implementation stage. And also, thanks for sharing all your insight on the passive cooling. Yeah, to find more sustainable cooling solutions. And actually, we do hope that we can work together with Cool Coalition to support the Cambodia's implementation of action plan. Actually, I'm from China. We also have a national cooling action plan. Try to significantly improve the efficiency of the equipment and also the accelerate the implementation of Kigali cooling Kigali amendment in terms of the F-gas transition, F-gas control and management. So we do believe there's a lot of gap, and we do need to work together to mitigate all these gaps and to achieve the sustainable cooling and provide more sustainable cooling solutions for all the countries that they need them. Yeah, thanks for all these four distinguished and excellent panelists. Thanks for your sharing. So I will give the floor back to Dr. Liu. Thanks for your contribution and recommendations. Again, thanks.
Because we also have an online audience. Let me just check if there's any questions from online audience to our panelists. And I hope, all of them will just have benefited from the panel discussion and also the lunch. Let me just check. Okay. I just want to remind everyone from the online platform, if you have any questions, it will be a good time to ask our panelists. Okay. So if not, also I want you to stay. If we can just have a final few words and then have a group photo, right? So I really think this is a very good event. We have heard about the national kind of strategy from both countries, from Pakistan for SDG 7 as an overall strategy to achieve SDGs, and from Cambodia, the National Cooling Action Plan, which is also the first one integrate the energy efficiency into the National Cooling Action Plan in Southeast Asia. That's really a good example. And as our panelists also mentioned, this is the result of the partnership to work together. But this is also the first step. So if we move forward, if we move to implementation, that's the most important and also most challenging part. So how we just move forward, that's still need a stronger partnership. And also we need technology, we need investment. As Minoru mentioned, the financing is always a big challenge for this kind of national actions, national action plan. So we really need to work together to move forward, to increase, have a stronger partnership, have a increased investment and financing